premise for Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is quite simply out of this world. A giant woman paints a number on a big-ass rock, and everyone that age and older dies. People have been trying to stop her from doing this for decades by sending out expeditions to her big-ass rock. So far, no dice. We, as the player, follow the 33rd expedition on their quest to stop the big lady. Simple enough, right? Wrong. Suddenly, the Andy Serkis character appears. No, not that one. Not that one either. Not that one either. And also not that one, though notably another monkey. Still not that one. Yes, wait, stop. That's the one right there. Wait, hold on. He's just a regular guy in this? No, he's not just a regular guy. He's old. So why does Andy Serkis get to live when he's markedly older than 33 years old? Why is he named after a famous impressionist painter? Why does this game have so many words in the title? And why the heck does that lady keep painting deadly numbers on her big-ass rock? The answers to those questions and perhaps so much more can be revealed with a little art history. Let's get into it. I want to start at the beginning, the game's name. The Expedition 33 part, pretty self-explanatory. But what about Clair Obscur? Well, that's French for Kuroskuro, a painting technique that uses super intense shadows and light to make stuff look more three-dimensional. In fact, in Italian, chiaro is light and scuro is shadow. Kinda neat. And yeah, okay, you might think that like shadows and stuff in art is just run of the mill, like everybody uses shadows. And that's true, but chiaroscuro shadows are like dramatic. Like this one by Caravaggio. This dude is super well known for using chiaroscuro to achieve like maximum drama. Leonardo da Vinci also used it, but it was more to be like mathy and meticulous and shit. Like he wanted to show the exact measurements of this three-dimensional shape that he was portraying. Nerd. Compare that to stuff by Monet, for instance, and that difference is blatant. Monet basically took chiaroscuro and threw that shit in the trash. Like, yeah, there are shadows, but he's so much more interested in light and brightness and color. And that's the stuff that lets him evoke these super sentimental feelings in these landscapes that he grew so famous from painting. Art, man. It's kind of sick. I was geeking out so hard writing this script that I just decided to slam my laptop shut and force my dear friend Bobby Byrne to come with me to the Art Institute in Chicago, where I live. The museum doesn't have any Caravaggio right now on display, but they did have this, which was done by one of his followers. And look at the chiaroscuro on this bad boy. Come on! So what does this stuff mean in the context of this stuff? Well, since the game is named directly after this technique, it's logical to assume that the game will have to do with light and dark, good and evil, that sort of thing. Or even that there's a right and wrong way to do things. But I want to go deeper. The Andy Serkis senior citizen has a line in one of the trailers about how Gustav, Mael, and the rest of our party are imprisoned in the shadow of the monolith. It made me think, are only the people in the shadow of the monolith affected by the paintress? Are they the only ones whose lives adhere to the rules of big lady paints number and people die? Are there others in the light surrounding the monolith that don't die when she paints? Maybe for this game, what chiaroscuro is really describing is this stark division of people who are and aren't affected by the paintress. If you're still not convinced, let me provide you with my second piece of evidence. This lovely geriatric gentleman is named Renoir. Like Pierre-Auguste Renoir, the famous painter, who, like other impressionist artists of the time, gained notoriety and kind of got flamed a little bit for painting shadows in a totally new way. Like Monet, Renoir said, "Fuck your chiaroscuro," and just went crazy style with the light and colors. My guy loved a landscape and he loved painting women. He once said, "There are too many unpleasant things in life as it is without creating more of them." I mean, gotta hand it to him. Renoir was kind of a dick and had some pretty problematic views, but god damn if he wasn't poetic. Renoir was French, as you might guess, and he lived in Paris during an era known as the Belle Epoque. That translates to a beautiful time. It was kind of like this mini renaissance in France between 1871 and 1914. It's when Victor Hugo's Les Mis was getting some attention. It's when they built the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty. Renoir was there too, painting his ladies and landscapes. And Clair Obscur Expedition 33? Yeah. It's set in a fantasy version of Belle Epoque, France. And back in IRL Belle Epoque, France, Impressionist painters like Renoir were bending over backwards to not paint shadows. At least, not in the traditional way. Renoir straight up rejected using black in the vast majority of his paintings, like at all. His little handheld palette had white and then 7 varieties of warm and cool toned colors, like cobalt blue, Dutch yellow, viridian, vermilion. Which reminds me, like, how cute is it that most Gen 1 Pokemon cities were named after these, like, vibrant pigments? And then you start in Palette Town. Like, come on, it warms the heart. But anyway, Renoir was doing all kinds of stuff to give his paintings depth than just using black for shadows. For instance, take this 1881 oil painting called The Two Sisters. I got to see this one in person. Really cool. He created depth in this one by barely mixing and blending his colors when painting the subjects, making them appear sharper and more defined. If you get in real close, you can even see the little brush strokes. It's basically like cranking those sharpen and structure filters on Instagram. But then he blends the hell out of his backgrounds, giving this really nice depth of field effect, like we see in modern photos and video. My man is just doing that, like with this and this. And then, of course, there's the complete and total absence of black pigment. Renoir instead created depth and contrast by adding in light, making surrounding areas appear darker. Take one of his most famous works, Bal du Moulin de la Galette. Pardon my French, literally. The way he adds in these little bits of dappled light, like on this guy's shoulder or across the whole dance floor. Sure, it adds visual depth, but it's also just like delightfully immersive. It adds to that feeling of what it would be like to be chilling in Montmartre on a Sunday afternoon, nibbling on something delicious and giving your lover a little smooch. Belle Epoque, France, man. It's not to love. And even when he's painting his subjects indoors, like the many nudes that he was famous for, he painted their shadows using color. You'll find these like whispers of yellow and purple and blue just blooming across these bodies. And a lot of art critics at the time like hated that he was painting shadows like this, if you can even technically call them shadows. One writer named Albert Wolff wrote this back in 1874. Try to explain to Monsieur Renoir that a woman's torso is not a mass of decomposing flesh with green and purple spots that indicate the state of total putrefaction in a corpse. I'll be so real with you. I think Albert was kind of fucked up for that one. Because experimentation and change in art is so important. It's what advances genres and creates new ones. It's how artists and art itself grows. It's why, and stay with me here, it's why we need Hidetaka Miyazaki to make The Duskbloods and make Night Rain. Is it for everyone? No, but it is for someone. And how will we ever get games that feel new and exciting if no one ever goes out on a limb? Can you tell I have feelings about this? Still, I recognize that criticism is important. Albert is allowed to speak his mind. And like, I don't know. I think Renoir's nudes, I kind of like them. I think they look nice. Oh, what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. How does all that Renoir color theory stuff pertain to this Game of the Year contender? Well, if this whole logical Kuroskuro framework is true, like if Gustav and Mael and company are in the shadow of the monolith and thus face death when the paintress paints their age, maybe Renoir was able to escape this fate because he doesn't subscribe to shadows in the same way. Maybe there's an ability or a situation in which he is an exception to this shadow of the monolith business. Because his shadows, well, they aren't really technically shadows at all. They're color, they're light. And yeah, I know, this is speculative, but this game is bursting at the seams with art history references. So I have to imagine the devs over at Sandfall know about Renoir's aversion to shadow back in 19th century France. Speaking of other art history references, Ben Starr's character's name is verso, which is a French word to describe the backside of a painting. He's often shown with Renoir in the trailers, so maybe he's Renoir's dark side or something? Or maybe the writers are gonna go all JRPG on our asses and make them like a figment of someone's imagination. Regardless, I'm really glad I took the time to read up on all this art history stuff because I want to notice all the little references. I gotta catch all those details. What do you think? Did you find connections that I missed? Please let me know. I will be streaming this game, so you can watch it live over here or you can catch the VODs over here. And if you're not subbed here, change that. Just kidding. Kind of. All right, see you later. Bye.